All right, good afternoon, traders. Today is June 27, 2025. My name is John Carignan. I moderate and I am the lead instructor here at the BYOB Trading Room. Hey, let's go take a look at some charts. Nice day for me today. Let's take a peek at everything that's going on. All right, so how did I make $85,000 today? All right, so I had some 616 calls from this morning. All right, and I bought those day before, and then I added to them. You can see I added to them right here at 23 cents, and all I did was sell into the rips up here. Sell into the rips and reload on the dips. All right, and then I had to get out of those. All right, and then with this big fall down. Okay, so that's how I made 46K on those. 24K on some 0 DTE 620s. All right, had some of those from day before. Actually bought some here and unloaded them into the rally right up there. Okay, price popped, unloaded into those. 15K on some 614 calls. All right, I didn't pick those up till over here. I thought at the day's open, when price got to the day's open, I thought we'd get a bounce. We didn't. We got some Canadian news that tariffs are going to continue, so that sucked. And then I thought maybe at the gap fill it would bounce, and we didn't bounce there. And then we came down into the anchored VWAP. And by then, price had gone kind of far. I didn't really know if we were going to make it back to 614, but you can see, had I held on to those, all right, and there were a bunch of them, those would have probably yielded probably about 200, 300%, probably about 1,000%, being since I bought them at close to 4 cents a share, and they went all the way up to $101 per share, so that would have been close to a 2,000% gain on those. But I actually exited those with a profit here and here, looking like price might come all the way back down to 605. We'll see what happens with that later on. Okay, 615 calls, 3 DTEs. Again, selling into the rallies, reloading on the dip, and then selling into the rallies again. 625 calls, 3 days till expiration. Had some of those, picked them up for 2 cents, wound up selling a lot of them for 4 cents. Okay, some 625 calls, 6 days till expiration. I was holding some of those. I just sold them into the rally, reloaded the dip, and it just right now, just unloaded into this big rip up. 615 calls, 6 days till expiration. Made 1,400 on those. Basically sold the rally, bought the dip, and unloaded into the rally. Okay, 620 calls, 6 days till expiration, $1,200 on those. Bought the dip, sold the rally, and reloaded on the dip back down and unloaded for a profit up there. 630 calls, 14 days till expiration. Bought the dip and just unloaded into the rally back up toward VWAP. 609 puts. All right, $4, made 400 on those. I bought the puts and price kept going up. And then price finally started to roll over, and then I exited my puts for profit right here as price came down into prior today's open right there. 300 on some 630 49 DTE calls. All right, actually I'm still holding those, and I bought the dip on those. Still holding these, 34 days till expiration. 640 calls. Good chance we're headed up to 5 to 620. We'll see what happens. All right, the market's bullish. 28 days till expiration, 640 calls. Still holding some of those, and those are well over water. Well over water, not underwater. Some 618 calls. I really thought bounce off of VWAP back up to 618 would have worked for me. It did not. We got the Canadian news, and I got crushed on that. Wound up taking a huge hit, 29K on those. Made some money on some Intel, calls over here. Made on Intel, made about 4,400 on those calls. Just exiting those for some of them for 23 cents, some of them 25 cents when the market opened. Made 4,400 on those. And you can see I sold into the rally, reloaded the dip, and then unloaded for profit right here. Okay, and then I had some other Intel calls where I looks like I did not sell. Actually, I'm still holding those. All right, it says I made $104, but I don't see a red marker up there like I sold them, so we'll see what happens. Let me see if I can find that red marker. No, it doesn't look like I sold any. So let's try that again. Maybe go to this one. And no, all I did was repurchase those. Okay, so that's it right there for me for today. 85K on price action for SPY. Huge rip up. All right, all the way back down to anchored VWAP, and then a huge rip back up there. That looks like an exhaustion candle. All right, so what do we got for SPY? All right, what do I like? Guess what? We're still bullish. All right, so we're still bullish. So not much has changed. Okay, I still like 10-minute uptrends over VWAP. Still like 10-minute downtrends under VWAP. I like 10-minute downtrends under VWAP under the pivot. I like 10-minute uptrends over VWAP over the pivot. All right, so price action for today. I really foresaw probability of getting the 617, 616. Didn't quite make it. Take those off the board. Don't need those anymore. Price action here on the 15-minute chart. Big rally back. Let's take a look at the 10-minute. 10-minute uptrend coming into the close. 2-hour. Still got a 2-hour uptrend coming into the close. Daily chart. Definitely a new all-time high for SPY. That's a higher low and a higher high. New all-time high for SPY. If you look at this with the quad lines on there, you can see we're all the way up at quadrant 4. It's a new all-time high. It doesn't get any better than that. All right, so let's take a look at QQQ. QQQ, new all-time high today. Okay, doesn't get any better than that. FNGU. FNGU is not a new all-time high. I don't think so. High is 2444. High here is 2452. Okay, nonetheless, an attack on the all-time high. That's definitely bullish up there. Let's take a look at IWM. All right, IWM, higher low, higher high, closing still not in the upper third yet for IWM. So it's neutral, but acting bullish, higher lows, higher highs, new rally high for IWM. All right, that's bullish. All right, so you notice we got a higher low and they made a higher high. So that's an uptrend. They're up over their all-time high anchored VWAP. All right, supposedly we're going to get some more tariffs. So guess what? Going to have some price increases. Of course, that's going to bring in more revenue for goods and services when we got more tariffs. All right, so there's IWM. Let's take a look at Diamond Dow. Diamond Dow up here in quadrant 4. That's bullish. Over the all-time high anchored VWAP, that's bullish. In an uptrend, making higher lows and higher highs, that's also bullish. T2122, well, we spent the day in the overbought zone, and I said we might make a visit and make an appearance in the buy zone. We did, And then you can see we rallied our way back to the overbought zone. T2123. All right, so gapped up on T2123. SPY did fill the gap. T2123 did not. Bullish gap up. Bears couldn't fill the gap there. Look at price action. Rallied up in the morning, in the afternoon. Had a little pullback. And then back up towards the VWAP in the evening. All right. Still new high, new rally high for T2123. Up over this 200 SMA. That's bullish. Higher lows, higher highs. That's bullish. 3-bar chart. 3 more green candle bars with some space in there. Up over that prior all-time high right there. Up over the 200 SMA. That's bullish. Moving up, consolidating, holding the higher ground. Now breaking out, making a new rally high. That's bullish. Up there on T2123. FNGU. Mostly buying from the beginning of the day, gapped up. Bears did fill the gap, but the bulls came back with a vengeance to close up over VWAP here. Okay, so we went up there, and then well, the boys decided to take a 6 martini lunch right here. Big dip down in to fill the gap, and then they came back from lunch and resumed the buying program, all right, for FNGU. Price action up over 200 SMA right here. Again, you see some bullish gaps that aren't getting filled. There's one here, there's one here, there's one here. Bullish gaps that aren't getting filled are bullish clues, all right? And you can see a new rally high for FNGU. New rally high for T2123, new rally high for Diamond Dow, new rally high for IWM, new rally high for SPY, new rally high for FNGU, new rally high for QQQ. All right? Could I cover T2122? Just did. We spent the day in the overbought zone, kind of what I suspected. And then we made an appearance in the buy zone, and then we rallied back to the overbought zone. Didn't even touch the buyer's chop zone all day long. All right, nice consolidation up there in the buy and the overbought zone. That's very bullish. All right, let's go take a look at a few sectors. Call this a weekend. Get ready. Remember, next week we got a 4-day week. That's it, 4-day week. All right, I think we get to, guess what? I think we get to, maybe we get to 620 next week. All right, I'm thinking we do. Market's really bullish. I mean, we had that Canadian news dip, and market bought it right back up. All right, so nice work for the bulls today. Let's take a look at XLE. All right. So XLE on the scratch, just looking on the daily. Okay, you can see XLE went up, gave it up. So it's just neutral. All right, we're over downtrend line 1, but we're under downtrend line 2. Still under the all-time high anchored VWAP. On the bearish side of the midpoint, you can see price went up and they gave it up. So we're just neutral through here. Still in an uptrend. But just neutral. All right, closing underneath bearish traps, that's bearish. Closing underneath the 17, also bearish. Price action was an inside day. It's a lower high and a higher low. Let's take a look at USO. All right, USO, lower high, lower low, closing under a bearish trap and under the 17. Both of that is bearish. Okay, you can see price went up and we gave it up. All right, so that's neutral. All right, they give it up and more, that's going to be bearish. Currently over the 3-year high anchored VWAP right there, that's USO. Neutral, not in the upper third, not in the lower thirds. There's USO, still neutral right there. Let's take a look at UNG. UNG's in a downtrend. USO stays in an uptrend. UNG coming back here. Higher low, higher high, closing over a bearish trap, but under the 17, so that's neutral. No longer in the lower third, All right, so that's not closing in the lower third. That makes it neutral right there. You go down, you give it up. You go up, you give it up. You're just neutral. Still hanging out at the 18-month high anchored VWAP right there. Okay, so there's UNG. All right, just neutral. All right, nice recovery from this head and shoulders neckline right here. Okay, so they got down there. That was a bullish candle. I said that was a bullish candle. We had some follow through on that bullish candle back up towards the 17 and the 18-month anchored VWAP right there. Let's take a look at gold and silver, both in uptrends, both bullish. Well, I think, yeah, gold's now in a downtrend because they made a lower low. Here's a low. They made a lower low. So gold's in a downtrend, but they're up in quadrant 4. That's bullish. Gold closing underneath the bearish trap, underneath the 17, underneath all-time high anchored VWAP. Let me see what the high is here. High is 317.63. High here is 317.60. So underneath the all-time high anchored VWAP in a downtrend, but up here in quadrant 4 still consolidating, showing an inverted head and shoulders. If price decapitates the head, that will void this whole head and shoulders pattern. All right, we'll see what price wants to do. There's gold on the daily chart, still up in quadrant 4. That's bullish, but now in a downtrend. Okay, now it can be in a downtrend and not move down. I just want to point that out. But it is moving down right now. Let's take a look at silver. Silver's in an uptrend. Price action still in an uptrend, making higher lows and higher highs. That's an uptrend up in quadrant 4. That's bullish. Hanging out up here over this 12-year high anchored VWAP. That's bullish. Hanging out in quadrant 4 is also bullish and still in an uptrend for this SLV. SMH. All right, SMH attacking the all-time highs today, just a little bit closer. All right, up there in quadrant 4, that's bullish. Higher lows, higher highs, that's an uptrend. New rally high for SMH, well done there. Let's take a look at XLK. XLK, new all-time high for XLK. XLF. XLF, new rally high for XLF. Higher lows, higher highs, that's an uptrend. Up here in quadrant 4, that's bullish. Up over the all-time high anchored VWAP, also bullish. All right, let's take a look at IWM. No, IYT. IYT, is that a new rally high for IYT? Not quite, no cigar there, okay? Close, almost a new high for IYT. That's the transports. Okay, so no trade with Canada is not going to be good because, well, there will be less products on trains and freight and all kinds of other stuff that would transport goods and services up to Canada. So this is not good. All right, we need free trade around the world. We'll see what happens. All right, IYT, that's bullish up over all-time high anchored VWAP, closing in the upper third. That's also bullish. IYT is bullish. Financials are bullish. Technology is bullish. FNGU is bullish. Everything is bullish, and we have a falling dollar. All right, so we have all the makings of a really nice, robust rally. Here's the bad news. All right, some of the catalysts that I thought would work to send us up to 650 would be, one of them was going to be free trade. Okay, and of course, the Canada deal fell apart. I guess the EU is fighting also. We almost had free trade. That would have been great. Nice trade deal. All right. Supposedly, I hear China, we did accomplish a trade deal with China. Not sure. I haven't seen any news on it yet. The idea that the 12-day war is over, That's great when the killing stops. Amen to that. All right, over there in the Middle East. Okay, so that was a nice catalyst. Rate cuts. Unfortunately, inflation creeped up a little bit. I think they were planning to do a late rate cut in July. Looks like that's going to be postponed till we get some more convincing data. All right, so there's two catalysts today that I thought would definitely help get us up to 650, but they didn't turn out to work in our benefit. But let's look at what the market did. The market still made a new rally high, and it actually made not just a new rally high, but a new all-time high up there. Okay, so not just a rally high, but a new all-time high. Even with the news coming out. All right, so what do I think is going to happen now? I think there's a possibility that we consolidate on top of prior consolidation again. All right, I'm just saying that I think there's a possibility we've gone up to 615. I think maybe could see a $10 consolidation on top of 605. Remember, that was the last. If we pull up the map right here, we were waffling between 583, 593, and then we decided, then we broke out and then started consolidating between 593 and 605. Okay, so I think there's a possibility while we work through some overhead supply again, some consolidation, I don't know how long it takes, between 605 and 615. All right, that's what I think may happen. But I do also want to point out that the market, while we were consolidating here and while we were consolidating here, the transports were not bullish. Now they're bullish, and the financials have made a new rally high, and technology has made a new rally high, and FNGU, which is all those big cap heavyweights, made a new high. I'm not so sure we consolidate between 605 and 615. It'll kind of be a wait and see. All right, so you can see we dipped down kind of far today. I mean, we were all the way up here at 615. I think we dipped all the way back down to, we pulled all the way back to 611. All right, so that was like a that was like a $4. How high did we get? 616. That was like a $5 dip right there. All right, that's a huge dip. So whether they continue with that dip on down to 605, and maybe we start consolidating on top of 605. We'll see. I do want to say that dollar's in a downtrend and moving down now, not just a bear flag. It's moving down. SPY is, you got the transports are now bullish. They're in the upper third. Not that they weren't acting a little bullish before, but now they really are bullish because they're in the upper third. Financials made a new rally high today. Technology made a new all-time high. Maybe we head to 620. I don't know. Preferably, for me, I'd like to see us consolidate in here for another week or two before, and then finally make a rip up to 650 with maybe Canada and the USA can work out a beneficial trade deal for both sides. That would be awesome. Same with Mexico, same with China, same with the EU. All right, that would be nice. That would really bring us up to probably 655 and higher. We'll see. All right, so let me just back out and show you the market, and this is the dip. All right, Wall Street bought the dip right here, and I'm being conservative because I'm not including all that tail and all of this price action up here. Wall Street likes, okay, a 2 reward for 1 risk. So, and I'm being conservative here. Okay, so if they want 2 reward for 1 risk, here's just 1 reward would take us up to 655. All right, 2 rewards, all right, would take us up to about 737 up there. All right, that's 2. All right, me, I'd be tickled if we just got 1. All right, right here, 655. All right, but if they want to go up to 737, you know, woohoo, let them go. I'm all for it. All right, I think they can do it. What happens on the south side often happens on the north side. All right, just telling you, I've studied price action for a long time. Usually what happens on the southern side happens on the north side. So if it does get up to 737, it probably won't be there for long. You can see maybe a 4-hour candle, that's about it, and then it will start making its way back down. All right, so there's SPY on the daily chart. That is Wall Street buying the dip, looking for 2 rewards. All right, so that's where I think we're at right now. Okay, now you can see we're all the way in the reward number 1. We're way past 50% of that already. All right, that's 575. You can see we got up to 615, 616 today. All right, and the 1 full reward takes us up to 655 up there. So I think that we're well past the halfway point of reward unit 1 right there. So we'll see what happens. Me, I'd like to see more consolidation, give those trade deals time to maybe both parties could find some neutral ground to come together on. That would be nice, and reopen those trade deals and hopefully get something signed that's beneficial for both sides, you know, not just us but Canada as well. That would be right. I'd like to see some free trade, really like to see some free trade where nobody has tariffs and we all take responsibility for whatever we're shipping. In other words, if they're shipping fentanyl here, they take responsibility for that. I'm not saying that they are, but I'm just saying it'd be nice to see that, all right? Free trade. Okay, that would be nice. So I would like to see us consolidate. I don't know what it's going to do. I just want to say the market's a little bit, has changed a little bit, and we are very bullish. All right, QQQ is really bullish. New rally high. IWM or IYT transports now in bull mode. They've always been in bull mode, but nice work today on them. IWM made a new rally high. SPY made a new rally high. Technology new rally high. So we'll see what happens. All right. We just might run up to 620 and then pull back and do the consolidation thing. I don't know. All right. But I'd like to see us consolidate and give those things time to work out. All right. I am glad the war is over. That's great. That's fantastic. I just like to see some beneficial trade deals for both sides. And that would really rock the markets, because that would be just great, because everything that we sell overseas might not get tariffed anymore. Okay, same thing with whatever they sell here might not get tariffed. So that would be great for them and great for us. So we'll see what happens. Supposedly it was the news But we did go 3 days up. All right. Supposedly it was, if you scroll up, Robert, supposedly it was the news. It was Donaldo Trump here, POTUS. They want to do 400% tariffs. So, not sure this is real. It says it's the real Donald Trump, so we'll see what happens. All right, that doesn't work for either side. So, but that's supposedly what caused the big dip. All right. John, first time buying 0 DTE. It worked, but you should only buy those in the AM and hold very short time frame. You buy them when you feel confident about them. Now, if you bought calls, let me just say this, okay? When you should buy them is when you have 10-minute uptrends and downtrends. Okay, so let's just go to the 3-minute chart, all right? Because price got crazy today, all right? So let's go to the 10-minute first. You got a 10-minute uptrend over VWAP. Should you only buy them in the morning? From the looks of it, you would say yes, all right? Okay, but that's not always the case, okay? 0 DTEs in the morning, yes, they worked out great today. Now, if you had those calls and you were running through this dip right here, which went much further than VWAP, all right, those calls would have sucked. But if you had bought puts, the 0 DTE puts would have been fantastic had you gotten out at gap fill. All right? Now, had you got some 0 DTEs after gap fill back to VWAP, that would have worked wonderful as well. All right? It's all in the timing. All right? In the 10-minute uptrend over VWAP, yes. That worked out great until it rolled over and they decided to do a VWAP pullback that just didn't bounce on VWAP, which normally it does. Instead, it decided to do the whole gap fill thing. So whether they work in the AM or the evening is totally dependent on price movement, all right? 0 DTE calls would work great here. 0 DTE puts in the afternoon would have worked great here until 2:30 or 3 o'clock. That's when it was done. All right. Now, if you got 0 DTE calls after 3 o'clock and you rode the rally all the way back to VWAP, those would have worked great as well. So as far as like should only be doing them in the AM or the PM, should only be doing them when price is moving, but the problem is there's no guarantee where it's going to move. You have to see a target, all right, that is likely to, the price is likely to manifest and target it. All right, so here we did target gap fill. That was definitely a target. The puts on the 0 DTE probably would have worked awesome. VWAP pullback, all right? See price pull back to VWAP. That would have worked awesome, all right? And both of those are in the afternoon. Look at, here, just look at these 0 DT calls right here, the 414s, all right? You want to see how well those would have worked? Let me show you something. Okay, so here's some 414 calls right here. All right, I'm going to go to a 3-minute chart. Okay, you could have picked these up for 3 cents a share, 4 cents a share, and look at where they wound up. $1.02, $1.05, 56 cents a share. Well, that's like a 2,000% gain had you held those 3 cents per share contracts that expire here. All right, so it all depends on the product you pick and where price is going. All right, so I hope that makes more sense. All right. Yeah, theta decay does affect them. It does. As you can see, these melted from 251 all the way up here, all the way down to 4 cents, 2 cents a share. All right. There was a time they were trading for, earlier today, they were actually trading for $2.50 a share. And you can see price melted. In addition to dropping, it melted in addition to that all the way down to 4 cents a share. But look, then you got the bounce off of gap fill back to VWAP, and you can see you could have made 2,000% on those riding back to VWAP. All right, does that make sense? Judy, thanks, John. Thanks, everyone who asked questions, posted trades. Very helpful. Yeah, that was awesome today, Judy. Yep. Thank you. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Fido. Thank you, Judy. Thank you, Fred. Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Mel. All right. Some people made some trades today. Did you guys? I think a lot of people made some nice daily goals. I saw that in the morning. All right. That was a beautiful thing. So I'll see you guys all on Monday. Short week next week. All right. Just 4 days. All right. Thursday is the last day next week. So looking forward to that. All right. Thanks on the win, Brad. Brad, did you do all right? Jim, did you do okay? Did you finish up all right? Cleared 2 daily goals. Love it. Jim, way to go. Way to go. Brad didn't trade today. Okay. So that's where we're at. I'll see you guys all tomorrow. We're going to be celebrating USA Independence next week. That's on the 4th of July. All right. So that'll be our plan next week. All right. Everybody have a beautiful weekend. Thanks for hanging out with us.